Alright, in this video I'm going to be making the vintage logo as you saw in the thumbnail, and I'm not going to waste too much time. Let's get right into it. Before we begin, I'm going to come over to the Object tab and click on Align and Distribute to open the Align and Distribute menu. Then come over to the Object tab and open the Fill and Stroke menu, and like that one, and come over to Text, click on Text and Font, open the Text and Font menu, and then finally come over to Path and click on Trace Bitmap to open the Trace Bitmap menu as well. And click on the Circles tool and make a perfectly round circle by holding Control and Shift on the keyboard. Something like that. I'll remove its stroke for now. And I'll click on this circle and duplicate it by Control D. And I will give it a different fill color. And I will scale it down to maybe that size. I'll scale it down to that size. Maybe I'll change that later on, but for now I think I'm going to keep it. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. So just keep somewhere there is good. So once you're done with that, go ahead and press T on the keyboard to get the text tool and write the word heritage. That's the word I'm going to go for. You can use whatever word you want to, and then click again somewhere else on the canvas and type the word motors. If you want to follow along, you can use this text, but if you want to, you can obviously use whatever you want here. The name of this font, by the way, I am already on the correct font, is Evil Empire, as you can see right here. And I will leave the link or the names of all the fonts I used in the description. So I'll keep these two text objects right here. I'm gonna use these a little bit later. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll click on this circle and I will duplicate it and I will bring it over here. And I'll click on the bigger circle and I will duplicate that and I will bring that right there. And what I'll do is I'll keep this there. I'll take this text object. I'll click on this circle, I'll go to Path, Object to Path, and I'll click on this text object. I'll go to, and I'll shift click the circle. I'll go to Text, put on Path. And that will give me something like that. And what I'll do is, I'll click on the circle to get the rotation handles and I will rotate that like that. So we're going to adjust this too, and we're going to make it so that it looks coherent with this circle right here. I'll turn snapping on with that button, and I will adjust it. And I'll click in the circle. I'll change its color to something different. I'll change its color to green so I can see the boundary between the circle and the text. I want to increase the spacing of this text, so I'll press T on the keyboard with the text selected. I'll come over to spacing, and then you want to change this spacing right here where it says spacing between letters. And you want to increase that to a value of, let's try 10. That's too little. I need more than that, maybe 20. That seems better. I'll actually increase the text size a bit more. I'll take it to 110. That might be even better. Yeah, 110 is pretty good. And then I'll do the same thing for this other text object. So I'll go ahead and get my my other circle. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and click on this text. I'll go and open the text menu with by pressing T on the keyboard, and I'll give this size of 110 as well. And I'll give it a spacing of 20. And that looks pretty nice. I'll go ahead and click on this on the text. I'll shift click the circle. I'll go to text and put on path. That will give me that result. I'll click on the circle again and I will rotate that. I'll rotate that to adjust it. And once I get it here, I'm going to click on this button. Actually, I'll select the circle and I'll click on this button, object flip vertical, and that will give me that result. I can see the text right here. It's behind the circle. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select it like that, and I'll bring it to the top. And that looks good. That looks like what we want. So I'll just go ahead and get this to its correct alignment. I'll click on the circle. I'll come over to the fill tab and I will reduce its opacity so we can see what is actually happening. What I'll do is I'll reduce the size of this circle a little bit. And that makes way more sense. And that is pretty good. I just want to adjust it. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to increase the spacing a little bit more. I'm actually going to take it out to 28, maybe a bit more even. Maybe I'll take that 30. I think that's pretty good. So I'll click on the blue circle again and I'll rotate it, get it into its correct alignment. Somewhere there is pretty good. I think that's pretty much finalized. I click on this blue circle and I will reduce its opacity. I'll click on the green circle and I will scale it down by holding Control and Shift. Actually, I'll scale it up. I'll scale it up by holding Control and Shift. Click on that and rotate that. I'll take the guideline and use that to adjust it, and that's pretty nice. So what I'll do now is I'll click on the text object and I will go ahead and go to path, object to path, and once I've done that, I can no longer edit this as a text object. So only do this once you're fully happy with the result, right? I'll click on the green object, I'll get rid of that and delete that. I'll click on this object. Actually, I select everything and shift click on the big circle. I'll shift click on this object, I'll shift click on that as well, and that will leave me with that circle. And I'll go ahead, increase its opacity. I'll click on this object, I'll go to path, object to path, I'll click on that circle and I'll delete that, and that will give us that result, that final result right there. So for this next step, I will import an image into Inkscape. To do that, I will go to File, Import, and I will find my image, click on that right there, and open that. And we're going to make a copy of this, a vector copy of this image, by tracing it using the trace bitmap feature. So with that image selected, I'll come over to the trace bitmap function or tab. So from this drop down, you want to select brightness cutoff, and when it comes to threshold value, you want to select 0.45, and everything else you can leave as is. For a black and white image, this works very well, and it's very accurate. If you're going to do this with an image, like a proper image of a car, then you should get a very high contrast image that will work really good. So I'll just go ahead and click apply, and that will give me the vector copy of my original image. So I'll click on that image, I'll press delete to get rid of it. I'll press N on the keyboard to get the nodes tool, and I'll get rid of these bottom nodes right here. We don't need these. I'll select all of those and I'll press delete to get rid of them. And that will leave me with that graphic, and that is pretty good. That is a very good. Scale that down. Too much. Go ahead and press T on the keyboard to get the text tool again. And I'm going to write the words ESTD. With that selected, I'll go ahead and duplicate that. I'll bring that right there, and I'll double click on it. I'll edit that, and I will change that to that. And then I'll duplicate that, bring that over here. I'll double click right there. I'll remove the 1, 9, and double click right there. And I will remove the 6 and the 8. Keep that object right. I'll take that object, then I will bring that right here. Actually, before I even do that, I want to select all of these objects, and I want to reduce the spacing. I'll press T on the keyboard to get the text tool, and come over to spacing, and I will set these values to 0. And then I want to make one more change. I will click on this text object, and I will come over to the text with the text tab, and I will give it a different font. The font I'm looking for is ShareTech Mono. That's the font I'm looking for. So go ahead and download that font as well, ShareTech Mono. I'm going to leave the names for all the fonts I use in this tutorials in the description. I'll actually select that font. I'll press T and come over to spacing, and I will reduce the spacing to more than that, maybe even more. Somewhere between 6 and 7 is maybe 7 and 8. -7 and -8 is pretty good. That is good. I'll keep that there for now. I won't really do anything to that. I'll take this object and I'll place it right there. I'll take that object and I'll bring that right here. I will click on that object. I will shift click on that object. I will come over to the align and distribute menu, and I will center them on the horizontal axis. Once I've done that, I want to just nudge this towards the right like that, and I want to bring this towards the center as well. Next, I'll take that text object and I will scale it down to about that size, and I will place it right there. I will shift, with that selected, I will shift click the blue object, and I will center that on the vertical axis. I will press T on the keyboard once again, and I will write another word. I will go ahead and write the word classic this time, and I will give this a different font. I'll come over to the text tool or the text tab, and I'm looking for the font Mountain Signature, and that's it. I apply that, and I'll bring that text object. I'll place it right there. I want to increase its spacing, so I'll press T. I'll come over to the spacing tab, and I will increase its spacing. Press right there. I'm going to click on the rectangle tool right there, and I will make a rectangle like that, and I will duplicate that, and I will duplicate it again to make 2 copies of it. Go ahead and take that copy and place it right there, and I will go ahead and take that copy and place it right there. I will turn snapping on with that button. I will take that and I will snap it right there. I will take that and I will snap it right there. I will click on the top rectangle, and I will give it a dull red color is what I'm looking for, something like that. I'll click on this middle object, and I will give it a dull looking yellow color, and I will click on the bottom object, and I will give it a dull looking blue color. Something that's too light, maybe That's pretty good. That might be too dark though. That one is good. And I'll click over all of them, and I will press Ctrl G to group them. I will click on this blue circle, and I will come over to its height. I will triple click that to select that, and I will press Ctrl C to copy that. I will click on this object now, and I will paste that height with Ctrl V to make it the same height as the circle. And now what I want to do is I will click on this circle, I'll duplicate that, and I will bring it right there. I'll bring it right here. Now I will click on it again, I will make 2 more copies of it. Then I will click on this object, and I will press Ctrl Shift and G to ungroup it. I will click on this circle, and I will shift click on this red object and go to Path, Intersection. I will click on the circle, and I will repeat that process for the other 2 as well. Intersection, and I will click on the circle, shift click the blue object, Path, Intersection, and that will give me that object. I'll click on this blue circle now, the original one, and I will delete that, and I will select all 3 of those objects. I will press Ctrl G to group them, and I will bring that right there, somewhere there roughly, and I will, with that selected, I will shift click the bigger circle, and I will go to Align and Distribute menu, and I will center that on the vertical and the horizontal axis. And now I will take that object, and I will lower that until it's below all of those objects. Something like that is good. And now what I want to do is I just want to color everything. I will click on this this object. I will shift click on that text object, and I will shift click on that as well, and I will give that the same color as this yellow. So I'll press D to get the dropper, and I will click right there to give him the same color. Now I'll click on this, I'll click on this text object as well, and I'll shift click on this one, and I'll give that the same color. I'll click on this blue circle, and I will give it a dark color like that one. And we're basically done. I will click on that green text object, and I will give that, I press D, and I will give that color right there. And now I just want to do one last thing, and I will go ahead and click on the circles tool, and I will make a perfectly round circle like that. A really small, perfectly round circle. I'll go ahead and I'll turn snapping off with that button. I want to give this circle the same yellow color, so I'll press D for the dropper tool, and I will click right there. I will give it that color. I will scale it down and make it really small, something like that. Maybe even smaller than that. Something like that is good. And I'll place it somewhere there. I'll press Ctrl D, I will duplicate that, and I'll bring the other one right here. I'll click on this object, I will shift click on that object, and I will center them on the horizontal axis like that, and then I'll press Ctrl G to group them together. And then I'll select that object, and I will shift click. Then I'll select that object, and I will shift click the blue circle, and I will center them on the vertical axis like that. Now I'll go and select that object. I will duplicate that, and I will bring that object right there. I will select that. I will ungroup it with Ctrl Shift and G. I will go ahead and bring that right here, and I will take that, and I will bring that object right there. I will shift click that object, select both of them, center them on the horizontal axis, and then group them with Ctrl G, shift click on the blue object, center them on the vertical axis like that. And so our last step here would be to click on this blue circle, and I will press D on the keyboard to get the dropper tool, and I will hold shift on the keyboard and I will click on yellow color to give it that stroke. What I might want to do now, because this actually is kind of tight right here, it doesn't look very nice, I will click on the text and I will shift click on this one as well, and I will just reduce its size. I'll come over to the text tab and I'll just give it, I'll just make the size a little bit smaller, and I'll make it 100 and apply that. Yeah, I think 100 is good. I'll center that right there, and I will center that like that. And that is pretty much it. That is how you make that vintage badge logo. Thank you for watching.